Okay, so let me dig right in on a very controversial subject, which society seems to have given up on coming to some common ground on that we're always going to disagree about. And the subject is abortion and women's right to have an abortion. So I want to draw that nonpartisan line to recognize both sides of this issue because I understand both sides of this issue. I was raised in a very traditional Catholic home. My mother was very much into the pro-life movement, and growing up, she would talk to me about this issue constantly, and I can understand, how she feels about it. She's passionate, and so how do we find a nonpartisan common ground on an issue that is almost equally split amongst the body politic? Well, I think step one is to recognize on both sides of this issue that there are good people with good intentions on both sides of this issue. For the pro life movement, it's not so much that they hate women or misogynist or chauvinistic. To them, they are fighting for a noble cause to preserve the life, an innocent life, of an infant human being, which they see starts at conception. So let's recognize that and honor and respect that perspective. And for those who are on the pro-choice, who support the women's right to an abortion, they are also fighting for a noble cause. Look, women have always been second-class citizens in this country. They had to fight for their right to vote. They still get paid less than men for the same work. They aren't baby killers or evil or bad. They're fighting for a noble cause, for women's reproductive rights. So let's tone down the rhetoric. It's not a good guy, bad guy issue, as in any issue in life. It's just different perspectives, and different perspectives central on this. When does life begin? And so growing up in a pro-life environment and home, as I get into high school and talk to my friends about this issue and debate about, when does life begin at heartbeat or what's happening to life inside the womb, it was very hard for me, but I had to evolve and understand that, other people who are every bit as compassionate and thoughtful and well-informed as I am can come to different conclusions about when life begins. And so, focusing on the pro-life movement, let us ask ourselves, or yourselves, what is a real victory for us? If we could pass a law tomorrow that outlaws abortions, making them illegal, is that really a victory? Because shouldn't our goal to be to prevent or limit the number of abortions in this country? So if we pass a law and women still choose to have an abortion, now be it an unsafe abortion, is that a real victory for us? And I would argue no. It's not a real victory. You cannot have a political victory in the pro-life movement because someone else who doesn't agree with your religion and your definition of when life begins is not going to follow your rules because it's way too important and big a decision to live by what your religion or what your perspective is about when life begins. They're going to live their life by their own perspective and their own religion. You will never have a political victory in the pro-life movement. You can pass that law, but women are still going to have abortions. They're just going to be unsafe, unmedically safe. They'll be in back alleys. And that's not a real victory for you. So give up on that fallacy of a political, legal victory. Your victory can only come by changing hearts and minds through education. And then for the pro-choice movement, you have to understand, you have to give some ground on this issue that the pro-life movement, that they're not bad people. They're not misogynists. They simply want to give, fair information about what's happening to a developing life inside the womb, as long as it's fair and scientifically valid information, then we have to allow that. So here's the common ground in America. Pro-life and pro-choice have to recognize that the common ground is a country where everyone has the right to have an abortion should they choose, but no one or very few women choose to have the abortion because there are very few unwanted pregnancies because they have contraception and education. So let's stop fighting to take away the right to have an abortion. That's never going to be a victory for you. It's only going to come through education by changing hearts and minds. But ultimately, let's stop vilifying each side of this issue. There's good people on both sides of this issue. Thanks for listening to me.